welcome you guys to the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we are excited to get things started here for this program today, this Heart of the Hall of Famers series. And really the idea and the premise behind this series is to convey what it took to get into the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. And as we shared with the last group, we know that our Hall of Famers are great examples of excellence, but it took more than that to get in the Hall of Fame. Most of these individuals, it can be said, if their God-given ability didn't lie in professional football, then they would have gone on to excel at some other life endeavor, and many of them have, whether it's their post-careers, whether it's charitable foundations they're involved with, whatever it might be. And because of that, it's their core, at their core is their character. And those 6 pillars that you guys are studying for this program, the trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, those are at the core of what make our Hall of Famers great. And this is an opportunity for you guys today to ask one of the greatest football players that has ever played in the National Football League what it took for him to achieve greatness on and off the field. But with any event, anything that you do, whether on the field, off the field, business world, school, it takes a great team to put things like this together. And we've assembled an outstanding team here today, and we have to thank those folks. First and foremost, we have to thank our friends at Cisco, Dan Shaddy and Daniel Nicholson, and Joe Boyle and Chuck Ellis and Kerry Best. They were working behind the scenes to bring the technology to Sanford Middle School that then allowed us to host Mr. Youngblood there. We definitely have to thank Seminole County Public Schools and Sanford Middle School and their assistant principal there, Timothy Hurd, for allowing us to a facility to host Mr. Youngblood to do this broadcast. So thank you very much for doing that. And then last but definitely not least is our friends that make all these connections possible with all these Heart of the Hall of Famers is our friends at ETech Ohio through our State Department of Education here, ETech Ohio. So Derek and Josh and Jason, they all made that possible. I know many of you have probably spoken with them on the phone to get this connection going. So it wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thank you very much. We definitely have to thank our teachers. With each one of these connections, we work anywhere from 3 to 4 different teachers for each one of these schools, and you all played an important part to make this connection possible. We would like to say thank you for that. And then definitely we got to thank the schools, the students at the schools. Because without you guys, without your preparation, and I've seen the questions that you guys have submitted, you've really thought about some of these questions about character. I want to thank you for your preparation. It wouldn't be possible. But with that being said, what we want to do, so we can show Mr. Youngblood where you guys are all from, and also so all the schools can see where all the schools are from, because we got students from all across the country, is what we're going to do is we're going to ask the school, when I call upon your school, we'll ask you to go ahead and unmute your mic, and show a little school spirit. Give a little shout out for your school, a cheer or whatever it is that you want to do, and let us know that you're there. So we're going to start off with actually a classroom right down the hallway from Mr. Youngblood is Sanford Middle School. If you want to go and give a shout out, go ahead. Okay, very good. Thank you, Sanford. And I don't know if they got connected yet. Hopefully they did. Let's go to Texas Canyon High School. Are you there? Okay, all right. We'll go to, I know Warrensville's connected. Go ahead, Warrensville.
Weird.
All right.
Weird.
Thank you, Warrensville. Go ahead and mute your mics there, Warrensville. Thank you. And can you guys mute your mics, please? And we will ask, make sure to refrain from the comments, just so we're not adding any distractions to the rest of the program. Thank you, Warrensville. And we'll go to Lions Creek Middle School.
I don't know.
All right, all the way in Florida. Thank you, Lions Creek. We appreciate that. And let's go to Southern Local in Ohio.
Ready?
Go.
All right. Thank you, Southern. We appreciate that. And let's go to our friends in Camden, New Jersey, RT Cream Family School.
RT Green!
Hey.
You!
Thank you, Cream. Appreciate that. Go ahead and mute your microphones there. And then they're joining in as view-only schools today. but we would like to give them recognition, and if they're there, Osceola in Wisconsin, if you guys are there, go ahead and give a shout out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Osceola. Appreciate that. And another view-only school. Go ahead and mute your mics there, Osceola. Another view-only school will be Boyceville. If you want to go ahead and give a shout out, go ahead, Boyceville. Okay, all right. Well, I know they're connected, so hopefully they are in there. So thank you for all the groups for participating. We're excited to have you guys do this program. But let me go ahead and go to the introduction of our guest speaker here today, and that's Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood. First of all, he's born January 26, 1950 in Jacksonville, Florida. He was a Rams #1 draft pick back in 1971 and became the starting defensive end in 1973. Rugged, determined, and durable. He played in a team record, get this, 201 consecutive games. He suffered a fractured left fibula in the 1979 first-round playoff, but played every defensive down in that title game that year, which was Super Bowl 14. He played in 5 NFC championships, and he was All-Pro 5 times. He is also All-NFC 7 times, as well as played in 7 consecutive Pro Bowls. And in 2001, Mr. Youngblood was bestowed the highest honor an individual player can achieve, and that's being enshrined here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Now, that's a little bit about his on-the-field career, but let's talk about his off-the-field stuff as well, because I think you'll find it's just as remarkable as his achievements on the field. After football, he went into acting and broadcasting. He appeared in 2 television shows called Cat Squad and Cat Squad Python Wolf. He was also a reporter and co-host with ESPN Game Day. He was a counterpart of someone you guys might know pretty well on TV. A guy by the name of Chris Berman was on that show as well. He was also on CBS's NFL Today show, as well as appeared on Walmart's Great Outdoors show as well. Beyond acting and broadcasting, he was also heavily involved with football administration, where he had stints in the World and Canadian football leagues and in the front office with teams, and that eventually with the Orlando Predators, he went as high as a VP and general manager all the way to the top of that organization as the president. So here you have a case again. He achieved the pinnacle success on the field, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but he's also achieved the pinnacle of success on these other careers. As you hear him talk about, president, general manager, all these high-up positions that he's been involved with, as well as another job. He's division president for an ethanol fuels company as well. But what we'd like to share about our Hall of Famers as well is not only what they've accomplished on and off the field, but a lot of their charitable activities, because I think that really says a lot about these individuals. Their caring, their selflessness, their humility, all these things that I think are very important, not only being a Hall of Fame player in person, but just a Hall of Famer in every way. Number one, he is a part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He was a part of the NFL USO tours in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. He was the chairman of the Los Angeles Right to Read program. He's been involved in the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation as well as the United Way. He's participated in Hands Across America to End Hunger in the U.S. and a whole host of other organizations he has been involved with, including obviously the Pro Football Hall of Fame, doing things like this here today, outreach programs for us, not only for our educational and youth programs, but other things as well. But before I ask Mr. Youngblood to share his opening remarks, what I'd like to do is show you guys a little video of Mr. Youngblood on the field.
No one could have guessed that defensive end Jack Youngblood would play in 201 consecutive games. He was small for a defensive lineman, but number 85 played with the heart of a lion, giving 100% of his dauntless effort every game. He used his lighter frame to finesse his opponents rather than bowl them over. Youngblood's play was admired by many opponents throughout his career.
I'll say this about Jack, and I say this with a great deal of humility. If I had to play against Jack Youngblood 8 times a year, I wouldn't be here.
Youngblood's desire to win brought his Los Angeles Rams to Super Bowl 14. Although they didn't win, they competed valiantly, just like number 85 did his entire career.
Okay, and if all the schools can unmute your mics for a second and join me in giving a warm round of applause to class of 2001 First of all, all right, go ahead and use the mic to the schools, and Mr. Youngblood, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for that introduction. It's a privilege to be here today and to talk to these young people. We could talk football for hours, but we're talking about something a little bit different today, and that's the intangibles of what it takes to be successful, not only on the football field but also in the game of life. When you talk about those intangibles, those are the things of character that we all look for in individuals. You look for it in defining success, and you look for it in the relationships that you build and that you are involved in on a daily basis. They are as important as physical ability, as the ability to go and play the game, or do a job, or do a math problem. The character issues are just as important, if not more so, and then for the success of the individual. Then you take the individual, you put him on a team. That creates a whole nother dynamic there that I would rather have. I would have people that have better character than they do talent. I can go further with that than I can with all talent and no character. So today we did this morning with another group of schools, and they had some outstanding questions. They stumped me a couple of times, but I thought they were absolutely wonderful questions, and I just hope that I gave them some sort of an answer that they could take home with them and chew on for a while.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Youngblood, and we'd like to remind all schools that please keep your mics muted. I think Warrensville, you might have your mic unmuted. Thank you, and I appreciate that. The order that we're going to go into is we're going to go Sanford, and then we will go Canyon, Warrensville Heights, Lions Creek, Southern, and then Cream Family School. We'll go in the order of reservations. Just to be fair, the first round we will go through 2 questions from each school, and then the next round we'll go through 1 and try and go through as many times as we can so you all get a fair amount of questions to ask Mr. Youngblood. One thing I will ask is all groups keep their mics muted until we call upon them, and even when you ask your first question and are waiting to ask your second question, if you can mute the mic in between those questions just so we can minimize the distractions, because even just a little crumpled paper or something like that next to the microphone can create a pretty big distraction through video conferencing technology. So we appreciate that. But what I encourage you guys to do before Sanford, with your first question, before we get there, is, again, I'll reiterate, you guys are talking to one of the greatest football players that has ever played. There's been 20,000 men that have, over 20,000 men that have laced up in the National Football League since it started here in Canton, Ohio in 1920. There's only 267 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So you are talking one of the greatest players. So when you think of some of the great players today, whether you think, Peyton Manning or Clay Matthews or excuse me, or any of those other players that are out there, they aspire to hopefully be Jack Youngblood someday and be a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I encourage you guys to ask those challenging, thought-provoking, character-related questions today. So with that being said, let's start off there right down the hallway from Mr. Youngblood. Let's go to Sanford. If you got your 2 questions, go ahead.
How has your childhood affected the person that you are today?
Say that again one more time. I'm about half deaf.
How has your childhood affected the person that you are today?
How's my childhood? Is that the question?
Yep. How's your childhood affected today? Who you are today?
Thank you. It's a good question. There's no doubt that your that your formative years certainly have a huge aspect of what you're going to turn into, how you're going to uh, 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 what you will eventually be, and that'll continue to evolve. If we're fortunate enough to live to 80, you hope that that you're continuing to change your character and to improve on your character, as you grow older. My grandfather and my father and of course my mother, they were the foundation of what we, how we and what we and believe in and how we conduct ourselves. Those fundamentals don't change and won't ever change. And I think that's where the foundation is, and you build on that. You build your character on that foundation from that point forward.
Great question to start off the program there, Sanford. If you have another one, go ahead.
All right. What was the best advice that you've ever been given?
Best advice that was ever given to me. Is that the question?
Yes.
Let me think. That's another brilliant question there. Probably what. Pardon the thought. I need to think that one out. That's the best advice, and I want to give you that a good answer. One of the best advices that I've ever been given is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I mean that's a fundamental of the Christian belief, and I think that transcends time and history. And all, and globally, that one there is a fundamental that you that I think could take you a long way. Granddaddy taught me to always finish the job that you begin, and there's been so many people that have influenced my life. And continue to influence my life even today in the decisions that you make on a daily basis.
Great start to the program there, Sanford. Appreciate those great questions. Let's see if Cannon, did you guys get connected? New Braunfels, Texas. You guys got connected? Go ahead and ask your questions.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Someone else go. Is it ready?
Yeah.
Did you have a role model growing up as a kid?
Did you hear him?
Yes, I heard. Did I have a role model growing up? No, I didn't. I didn't pay attention to sports. My role model was my grandfather.
I'm sorry, Jack. Give me just a second, Jack. Cannon, can you make
All
sure
right.
to mute your mics in between there? So we're getting some background noise. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As I was saying, I didn't follow sports as a young man. There was too many other things going on, and in fact, it wasn't that big of a deal on television back in the 60s. So my grandfather was my role model there. And he was the sheriff of Nassau County. He was the sheriff for 28 years, and I wanted to be just like Granddaddy. I wanted to be the sheriff one day. He was very influential on the younger formative years. You move forward, coaches had influence on your life, and when I got to the pros. Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones, but Merlin most specifically, probably had as much to do with my success and influence on my learning to play the game at that level, at the NFL level, than anybody else in the business.
And those are, in case you guys don't know, those are two Hall of Fame players. Merlin, you may or may not know. Unfortunately, Merlin just passed away a couple years ago. And Deacon Jones is the one that he's always talking smack. The old guy that's always talking smack about no one could ever have as many sacks as he does. That he invented the term sack. So you've probably seen him on some type of football documentary or something like that on ESPN or NFL Network. So, Ken, if you got another one, go ahead.
When did you figure out that you wanted to play football?
Good one.
When? Actually, that I had to. I wanted to play like in the sixth grade. We didn't have Pop Warner football back in my day, so we had organized school football, and I was growing so fast that the doctors wouldn't let me play because I had a growth spurt, and the connectors in the bones in your knee weren't connecting like they were supposed to. So I had to sit out a year, and then I came back and started playing in like the eighth grade, which was junior high, and we went on and played through high school football. But I think I finally realized I could actually play the game when I was a senior in high school.
Okay, thank you, Canyon. And let's go to here in Ohio. Let's go to Warrensville Heights. If you got a question or two, go ahead.
What drove you to play in the Super Bowl with the injury you had?
Passion. I love to play the game. There's nothing like going out on that field on Sunday afternoon.
And Warrensville, can you make sure to mute your mics in between there?
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, the passion to play the game, and then my responsibility to my teammates. That was crucial for me. I was the captain of the football team. We had been close so many times, and had the door shut in our face, and we had that opportunity one more time. You never know whether you'll get that opportunity ever again. So each season you have to seize the moment. And just the passion of wanting to be on the field with my football team and try to help them be successful.
And go ahead, Warrensville, if you have another question.
Who was the best offensive guard or tackle you had to go against?
Best offensive lineman? There was four of them that were a problem every time you went up against them. Every Sunday when they came to town. Rayfield Wright, Dan Deerdorf, Ron Yeri, and Russ Washington. Those four guys, when you knew that it was going to take a light and a lunch to to get the job done on those guys. And three of them are in the Hall of Fame with me. Russ Washington, I think, should certainly be considered. But those four guys were pretty tough.
And you guys heard at the end of that video that I played, one of the gentlemen that he spoke of was a guy by the name of Dan Deerdorf, who chimed in at the end of that video that I showed you. Dan Deerdorf being a Hall of Famer as well. He said if he had played against Jack Youngblood 8 times a year, that Dan Deerdorf would not be in the Hall of Fame. So that's imagine that kind of compliment about how great of a football player that Mr. Jack Youngblood was. And by the way, the gentleman controlling the mute there at Warrensville Heights, is that a Purple Raiders shirt you're wearing there? Is that a University of Mount Union shirt?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I graduated from the University of Mount Union, so hopefully go play football there. They got a great football program there at the University of Mount Union, so I like the shirt. I like it. So let's go ahead and go to Lions Creek. Let's go to Coconut Creek, Florida.
Coach, you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Hello, Jack. My name's Coach Brennan. One question that I just came up with. Do you attend any of the University of Florida games still? Being that I'm a Hurricane fan, I hope you don't get angry with me.
I won't hold that against you, Coach. Yeah, I try to get to the Gator games at least 2 or 3 times a year, if not more. There's nothing like being in that crowd and being there on Sunday afternoons. Or Saturday afternoons. It's a great experience. And I know you've been up to some. It's great and just brings back wonderful memories every time you go back.
Go ahead, Lions Creek. If you have another, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Do you have any other plans to write another book?
As a matter of fact, I have a book coming out. It came out last Saturday. It's called Because It Was Sunday, The Legend, and we're on the internet at Youngbloodbook.com, and we're just cranking up the media now on trying to get the word out that we have another book out.
All right, thank you very much, Lions Creek. Let's come back to Ohio and Southern.
What did it feel like when you made it to the NFL and eventually the Hall of Fame?
That was Christmas and birthdays and the best day of your life all wrapped up into one package. You know, I was on the final list for 12 times and kept missing the cut 12 times. In fact, I was calling myself the Susan Lucci of pro football. You know, you get nominated, but you get turned down. I was the bridesmaid too many times. But it's when you stop and think about it, and Jerry mentioned this a while ago, the 267 today out of over 20,000 people that played professional football. That's an incredible number, and it's almost mind-boggling when you think that you've been recognized as one of those very, very, very special people.
And I think there's a lesson there. And you talked about, you know, winning games and being enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, throughout Jack's career, you know, they went to a number of championship games, but you know, they went to the Super Bowl 14. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win that Super Bowl. But what lesson do you think that you've learned and that others can learn about? We're not always going to go on to Hall of Fame career. We're not always going to get an A on the test. We're not always going to do great things at our workplace that, you know, to get that big pay raise or whatever that end reward is. What do you have to say for those folks that prepare really hard and maybe get a C on their tests?
We can't, and this is just a fact of life, that you can't, you're not going to win all the battles. You're not going to win all the games. You're going to fail at certain times. That's just nature. That's just the nature that we are. What you have to do is what do you do with those failures? And what do you do with those successes? Do you learn from those successes as well as you learn from your failures? I hope, I wish I had made bigger gains from all the successes that I've had in life, because I've been blessed way beyond anything I deserve. But unfortunately, I've had to stump my toe time and time again, and to go. And I'm so hard-headed sometimes that you go, oh, well, maybe if we change that, there's a different outcome. There's a greener pasture on the other side when you change the behavior and you change what you're doing when you're failing. So you know you learn from both ends of the spectrum, but you want to make the most out of the successes, and make those the focal point.
Thank you, Mr. Youngblood. And let's go another one from Southern.
What does it take to make it to the elite level? What's the difference between making the pros and making the Pro Bowl?
There's 1,500, 1,600 people that are capable of playing in any season. There's only a cream of the crop that's going to be the elite bunch that are going to excel. They're going to go out there and play with passion and excellence every down, every game. They're not going to go out there and just let it be okay just to be on the football team. They're going to try to be the best that they possibly can be. I think that's an intangible that it's hard to see sometimes. What is the character of the guy? Yes, he's got plenty of talent, but he doesn't have any heart. Didn't have any drive to be good at what he's doing. He's content to be just average. And I don't want people on my team that want to be average. I want you to want to be better than you can ever be.
Okay, thank you, Southern. Let's go to our friends in Camden. Yeah, great question. Let's go to Camden.
Hello, my name is Wasan Kayus. What advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
First of all, for young people like I'm seeing here on the screen right now, respect for your parents. That's critical, and you begin there, and you'll gather their foundation. There's a playbook. There's a playbook that's been out for about some 2,000 years now, and it's called the Bible. It's all the answers are all there. And if you study, if you look into that's a pretty good place to start. There's pretty good reference points there, and then surround yourself with people that you respect, that you know are doing the right thing, and they want you to do the right thing. Be around people that have that kind of an attitude. Don't hang around. Don't surround yourself with people who are losers, who don't want to be excellent, who don't want to do what's the right thing to do. That's how you develop character.
Great question there, Cream. Go ahead with another one.
Hi, my name is Tamir Barton. How would your middle school teacher describe your character?
That's a good one. That's good. I like that question.
I'm not going to let her describe my character because she may tell stories about me that I don't want you guys to hear. But I'm just kidding. I think she would say that I was a decent enough kid who had a foundation, and that I had respect for her and what we were doing in the studies, that I had potential to go further. I think she would say those things. I hope she would anyway.
If she's still around, can you call her and ask her?
I don't think she's still with us.
I'd like to get that. I'd like to get that tape. So
yeah.
And Mr. Youngblood, if you could, one of the things that when you achieve success like you have, on the field, off the field, I really wish students only get to see your success on Sundays and Sunday evenings, in football. But one of the things that separates Hall of Famers and Pro Bowlers today and everything else is what takes place Monday through Saturday, the preparation, the work behind the scenes. Because I guarantee you that those folks that are separating themselves from the rest of the bunch, one thing they'll find out is that those players, our Hall of Fame players, some of the workouts are legendary of some of the guys. They're the ones running the extra hills and things like that. Can you share with them about the preparation that it takes to be great in anything?
That's a good point, Jared. Of all the Hall of Famers, you can tell who has the potential of being a Hall of Famer, because normally he's the first on and the last off. He'll be there at 6 o'clock, and he'll leave at 8. It'll be sun up to sun down, and that applies to anything you do, any job that you have. I mean, if you want to be a banker, you go in early, and you stay late, and you learn the entire time, and you want to learn the entire time. You want to work. You want to practice. You want to get better at whatever profession it is. So that's one of the things that you can see is common in all of us that are in the hall. We had a work ethic that was exhaustive, and we had a passion. We had a passion to be good. Sometimes to an extent. We had, I was a perfectionist. I mean, I recognized every fault in a ball game, and those things drove me crazy all week long, and until we got back on the field the next Sunday, and I could correct some of those things. I would realize I'm not doing what I did wrong, last week. Those kind of things. Perfectionist is it's tough to live with sometimes.
All right, thank you, Cream. Let's go back to Sanford. If you got one question, we'll go one from each group, and we'll try to make it around as much as we can in the next 20 minutes.
What do you think? Do you think players now play for the money or for the love of the game?
Did you hear that?
Hear that?
Yeah. Do you think players nowadays do they play for the money or for the love of the game?
Sweetheart, you're gonna get me in trouble with this answer. I'm gonna sound like an old schooler, but there are a few, and the good ones, the real good ones, will always play with passion and desire to be the best. Now the rest of the crop, sometimes I question that issue, because they want to be. I firmly believe, and they behave this way, that they want to be paid first and then go out and perform. It's the other way around. That formula is backwards. You go and perform. You perform well consistently over a long period of time. You will be handsomely rewarded, and that's a life lesson there. It's the same as it is on the field. That's not quite the mentality of the current players as a majority.
And yeah, I can echo his sentiments. I mean, if I don't perform well here at the Hall of Fame, they're not going to give me a pay raise here, or maybe not as much of a pay raise. So it applies
Right.
in every level and everywhere you go. So great point there. Let's go Canyon in Texas.
What about you?
All right.
Hi, I'm William Kavanaugh. I'll be playing. I'm a senior here at this school, and I'll be playing at the collegiate level next year at UTSA. And I was just wondering, going in, and this can go for everybody, going into college and throughout my college career, what should I try and focus on?
Well, congratulations on having that opportunity. That's wonderful. It's going to be the best 4 years of your life, if not 5. And who knows where you're gonna wind up. you may grow into and have the opportunity to go to that next level. If I'm gonna tell a young man like yourself one thing to do, I'm going to tell him to be in better shape than he's ever been in his life, and let no one tell you or you're never going to allow someone to be in better condition when you're competing against him. That will take you miles and miles and miles. Then you've got to be smart, and you've got to train properly. You've got to develop your techniques. You want to be fundamentally sound, and you want to be a good guy. You want to have character, because I can work with character much more than I can work with just talent. Talent with no character goes a ways, but character with a little talent goes a long, long ways. And I think that is basically what you need to focus on right now. And congratulations on going and playing.
Yeah, congratulations. It's a small percentage that goes on to the collegiate level. And just to give you guys an idea as you're watching, how big of an honor it is to just make it in the NFL, whether you're make it the first year and get cut the following year. Do you guys know, and this is according to the NFL Players Association, it's only 0.2% of high school seniors that play football will ever make an NFL roster. That's 2 in every 1,000. That's 1 in every 500 high school seniors. So if you figure you got a high school football team with 20 seniors on it, you go to 25 high schools in your area, and you might have one person play professionally. So those are some tough odds. But for the young man that's going on to college, you have a wonderful opportunity. I don't know if you got a scholarship. If you got your education paid for, man, you are golden, man. Take advantage of that free education, because that football only lasts you so long. That education is going to last you a lifetime. So that is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Congratulations to you for that. So let's go to Warrensville. If you got another question, go ahead.
For the current rosters in the NFL now, who do you think the best defensive player is?
I love to watch Jared Allen in Minnesota, defensive end, right defensive end. Clay Matthews plays the game pretty good too. Urlacher, you gotta love that middle linebacker. He's a big old boy in the middle, and plays hurt, and he's the center of attention there in Chicago. Those are three that I like to watch.
And Jack, would you go as further as say as you can maybe only speculate, but I would assume, being at that level that they are, and not only making the NFL, but being Pro Bowlers, and some of them are on pace to have Hall of Fame careers as well. What kind of work ethic? What kind of work ethic do you think they have?
Well, it's undeniable that they're first on and last off every day. It just shows in their work. There's no doubt. And the thing about all three of those guys is they're high character guys too. They want to do the right thing, the right time, consistently on a regular basis, and no matter what they're doing.
Great, thank you. Great question there, Warrensville Height. Let's go to Florida, Lions Creek. Lions Creek, if you're there, go ahead if you have a question.
Yes, we have a question. Go ahead.
If you had to do your life over, what would you do and or what other sport would you play?
Hear that?
Your audio is cutting in and out. If you can repeat that, the teacher.
Go ahead, louder.
If you had to do your life over, what would you do differently and or what other sport would you play?
If I had to change one part of my life, is that the question?
Yes.
Over your life.
Yeah.
I can read it again for you if you'd like, Jack, or is everyone trying?
Yeah.
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay. They're asking if you had to live your life over, which we all would be nice, what would you do differently, if anything, and or what other sport would you play?
Well, I would want to play a better round of golf. That's for sure. I mean, I would clean up a lot of I'd do a lot of things differently in my personal life. I wouldn't make some of the mistakes that I made there, and that would change the outcome of your life. But I wouldn't change one bit of football, other than if I could change the fact that I didn't have a broken leg playing in the Super Bowl, which limited my ability. I would change that. There's no question there. Good question.
Great question. Very, very thought-provoking there. So let's go ahead. Southern.
What is the biggest difference between players of the late 70s and mid-80s compared to today in terms of accountability on and off the field?
Awesome question.
There again.
She can get you in trouble here.
Yeah. Well, there again, the good ones, the excellent character guys and athletes, they're going to do the right things, and they're going to behave and conduct themselves in proper fashions. It's those who don't have that character issue and who choose to make wrong decisions. That's the difference there. I mean, we've had them in every era of the game. I think, unfortunately, they get exposed so much more today because of all of the media we have. Some of the ugly stuff that goes on in the game is reported on much more so than in years past.
And I think that's an important point to bring up to these students as well. Is that, for every, I guess, knucklehead moment you want to say that gets spread across the media, that's in the news for a week long of someone, maybe getting drunk driving or, something that just gets spread out, a bad decision. High character people can still make bad decisions from time to time. They just learn about them. But one thing, for every knucklehead moment you have out there, do remember, because they're not promoted nearly as highly, there are people like Jack Youngblood and Brian Urlacher and the guys that he shared that are doing wonderful things in communities all across the country, whether it's building houses for Habitat for Humanity or working with United Way or working with disability children, or things to support their hometown and their football's hometown as well. So remember, there's 99 others for every one knucklehead moment that takes place out there. So unfortunately, it's unfortunate the bad stuff sells, and not always the good stuff does. So just something to remember as well, since that was brought up. Thank you, Southern. Let's go to Cream in New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Carlos Bernard, and my question is, how did you deal with peer pressure?
Great question.
Jared, repeat that for me. He broke up there.
Yeah, how did you deal with peer pressure?
How do you deal with peer pressure? You don't have to care what other people think of you. It's not their business. It's none of your business. To be honest, you have a responsibility of taking care of your responsibilities, and that's all you need to deal with. The rest of it is all just smoke and mirrors. Put it that way. You don't need to be concerned about what somebody else thinks of you.
I think we might have time to go one more question from each group. Let's go back to Sanford.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how did you survive with the broken foot? Because I can relate to you, because I had like broken leg, I'm sorry, but I had a sprained foot. I couldn't walk at all. I just want to know how you played with football with a broken foot. So that's all.
Believe me, it was painful. We taped it up, and we taped a piece of plastic over it like a shell, so that if it got kicked, it wouldn't, it would protect it somewhat. But it all depends on the pain threshold that you can deal with. Then you can't take too much painkiller or enough painkiller to block it totally out, because then you couldn't function playing the game. So we just taped it up, and you go out and see what's the tolerance level today, and can we deal with that, and can we be a compliment to my football team and not a detriment. Was I gonna help my team win the game? That was my concern.
Great question. Thank you, Sanford. If we go back to Canyon for a last question from you guys.
Okay, the class has to leave, but I have a question. How do you, the studies that they're doing now about concussions and head injuries and things like that and trying to be preventative, do you feel like that is something that is even possible to do, or not?
No, we've come millions of miles in the recognition that we have an issue here. Thank goodness that the league now can honestly say the word and probably spell it, I think. But because before they did not want to acknowledge the fact that football causes concussions. I think we're on the right path. There is some therapies out there. In fact, I sit on the panel and I'm working with a doctor right now on a therapy that addresses the issues of the concussions rather than the symptoms. And I think that once we get to that point of solving the issues of the imbalance in the brainwaves, then I think we're in a position where they won't affect us down the road. They when you have multiple concussions, they compound themselves, and then at some point in time, then it tips over. So if you can deal with them when you initially, and rebalance the brain the way it wants to be, the way it wants to be balanced, then you're on the road to recovery and being normal again. We got to address the issues and not the symptoms.
And Mr. Youngblood, I don't know if you're talking about the same committee that Willie Lanier sits on for the NFL, the concussion committee that he is on, but Willie did the same program a little while ago, this character education program, and he kind of had what you refer to as kind of a light bulb moment, I guess, as we were talking about these 6 core pillars, and he really, he shared with me that he thought, the concussions themselves, the players, in some cases, it's a character issue. I mean, not the concussion itself. Regardless, contact, you're going to have some concussions, but when you have players physically trying to, headhunt and things like that, those are character issues. Those are core quality character issues that are taking place. So character's in everything. Character is in everything.
Absolutely. Yep. So. Yep. It's involved. It's entwined in every aspect of our lives. And it shows. It's very, very transparent.
Thank you, Canyon, for the question there. The teacher there, Warrensville, if you're still there, Mr. Purple Raider, go ahead.
Just a moment. What was your GPA in college? Graduating.
What was my GPA in college? I think I finished with like a 3.2 in finance.
Was it a lot of work?
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of work. In fact, I had to go back and I had one class that I had to drop, analytical statistics 3, and I came back after my rookie year and finished that class, and then started the MBA program.
That's awesome. I just as someone, you graduate college is one, it's an amazing accomplishment. But if you can graduate college while playing a football, especially at a university like Florida, that's just being able to have that balance in your life. It takes time management, it takes sacrifice, it takes dedication, it takes all these core values that we were talking about. Whether you go on to the NFL or not, that's an amazing feat to be able to do that at any level, Division 1, 2, or 3. To be able to balance your being a student athlete is an amazing quality, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of preparation, a lot of sacrifices to do that. So let's go to Lions Creek.
Have you had to face during your football career?
You guys had your mics muted. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What personal challenges have you had to face during your football career?
And what was your favorite football team growing up as a kid?
Favorite football? I really didn't have a favorite team when I was growing up. I didn't pay that much attention to football back then. It was there was more about the outdoors and fishing and hunting and that type of thing up in North Florida. So I wasn't a big football fan. I was blessed with the ability to go and play. And your first question was what challenges have I? Give me your first question again.
What personal challenges have you had to face during your football career?
Well, personal challenges are the health issues certainly were critical. I had a blood clot that was going back to the heart that tried to take me out in 1982. Fortunately, it didn't, and then of course the broken leg. That incident almost ended the career, but I was fortunate enough to make 14 years. But the health issues is the main thing that limits an NFL player's playing time in his career.
Thank you, Lions Creek. Let's come back to Ohio at Southern. We got a last question, and then we'll go to Cream to finish the program.
Hi, Mr. Youngblood. I am an assistant football coach on a program that we've just taken and walked into this year that is struggling. What recommendations would you have about changing the culture?
Changing the culture? You got to go back to the fundamentals. You go back to what you know are the fundamentals of the game, and conditioning. Respect, playing fundamentally sound, make them tackle. Don't let them, arm tackle or try to knock people down. Teach them how to tackle. Go back to the fundamentals, and then when you play with the fundamentals, it'll depend on what talent you have.
Thank you, Southern. Let's go to the last question. Our friends in Camden, New Jersey, RT Cream Family School. Go ahead. Bobby, if you're there. Cream? No. Going once, going twice. You know what? I don't know if they're still tuned in. They've been a view-only school, but they've been sitting pat there. Osceola, are you there? Do you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
What team do you think's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Don't answer that.
If I was able to predict that, we'd all be rich. Green Bay's playing awfully good again. And it's real early in the season. To make a prediction like that, anything and everything can happen. Even the Jaguars might find a way to win a ball game someplace along the line. I don't know. But no, we got a long ways to go. We're only five games into it this week. So there's a lot of football to be played.
And I know we got two schools from Wisconsin connected here, and I think a great example of someone who I think epitomizes character is that quarterback of yours, Aaron Rodgers. Because here's a guy that was behind arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, a guy by the name of Brett Favre. And Aaron Rodgers, knew he would hopefully start someday. But he, despite not starting, he kept working and working behind the scenes. Even though he wasn't getting the limelight, he wasn't getting the starting position, his character prevailed in that situation. So when the opportunity did come to say, hey, you are now the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, boy, did he run with that. Ran with it to a Super Bowl victory eventually. So I think Aaron Rodgers is a great example of someone who that I would probably say is character is at the forefront of who he is. We got a couple minutes left. Let's ask Boyceville. Boyceville, if you got one, if you're there.
Did you say Warrensville?
Oh. No, Boyceville.
Oh.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Warrensville. Mr. Youngblood, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to share with the groups today? Anything maybe you didn't touch on?
Let's wrap this thing up and take home something that they can chew on. I said this earlier. Character is so important. The intangibles are so important to individuals, not only to teams and the football players, and it's important to you as an individual, and are you going to be successful? Your character means everything. It just means everything. And if you can just start with the fundamental that I'm going to do the right thing always, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. That'll take you a long ways, I think, and you can rest on that one and depend on that one to take you a long ways.
And if you guys can join me and everybody unmute your mics for the time being and give a warm round of applause and saying thank you to Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood.